Was the Garden of Eden a real place? Here's what archaeologists think. Biblical archaeologists are using ancient texts and modern technology to uncover possible clues to one of Christianity's biggest mysteries. Thomas Cole's 1828 oil painting entitled The Garden of Eden. Cole was part of the Hudson River School, an American art movement in the mid-19th century. Hudson River School landscape painters were heavily influenced by Romanticism. The Garden of Eden by Thomas Cole, Amon Carter Museum of American Art. When God banished Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, the Bible says that he placed a cherubim and flaming sword at the entrance that scholars believe is used to guard against their return to this paradise on earth. But this clear expulsion of human beings hasn't stopped archaeologists, theologians, and tourists alike from trying to find their way back. The Bible's vivid geographical description of Eden gave seekers a head start. Readers are initially told that the Eden is in the east and that in the midst of the garden were the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the latter with its tempting fruit that Eve accepted despite God's warnings, resulting in their expulsion, Genesis 2 verse 9, Genesis 3 verse 3. But Genesis 2 verses 10 to 14 narrows down the location saying, "A river flows out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divides and becomes 4 tributaries, that include the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, located in southwestern Asia, and the Pishon and Gihon, which researchers are still searching for." This level of detail is unusual for the Bible and lent an air of authenticity to the story, giving early readers confidence that Eden was a real place. Scholars have long exercised their imaginations trying to pin down whether Genesis has some actual, if general, location in mind for where Eden may have been, or where might have inspired the story, says Joel Baden, professor of divinity and of religious studies at Yale University. Modern scholars doubt that the Garden of Eden actually existed, arguing that it is a myth designed to explain the world as we currently find it. Still, some archaeologists are searching for the real-world setting behind one of the Bible's most famous stories. Here are the leading theories of the possible location of the Garden of Eden. A 1690 map illustrated by Joseph Moxon entitled Paradise or the Garden of Eden. On this map, the Garden of Eden is located on the right, in the land of Assyria. Archaeologists hypothesize the Garden of Eden's true location lies in Mesopotamia, near the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Tracing the 4 rivers of Eden. You can still spot some of Eden's geographical markers today. In southern Iraq, it joins the Euphrates and the conjoined rivers empty into the Persian Gulf. How this ancient society helped build the modern world. The Pishon and Gihon are harder to pin down. Genesis explains that Pishon is the one that flows around the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, while the Gihon flows around the land of Cush. Scholars say Havilah was in South Arabia, a region known for precious metals. Cush's location is a bit elusive, because the name, Cush, is used in the Bible for 2 distinct regions, one in Mesopotamia, and the other in Africa, around Nubia, says Baden. Ethiopian tradition associates the Gihon with the Blue Nile, building upon the reference to the land of Cush, which Baden says is usually identified with Sudan and Ethiopia. However, this identification doesn't match the geography laid out in Genesis. Baden says the theory that the Pishon and Gihon are the Nile and the Ganges rivers is false, because those rivers aren't ever called by those names, and because the geography is off. The Ganges is about 2,350 miles in the wrong direction, he explains. Also, the Nile and the Ganges do not connect to the Euphrates and Tigris, as the rivers in Genesis do. Why Adam and Eve were cast out of Eden. Some scholars argued the Pishon and Gihon rivers were seasonal or lost waterways that survived only as dry riverbeds. In an article published in Biblical Archaeology, archaeologist James Sauer hypothesized that the Pishon should be identified with the Wadi al-Batn, an intermittently dry channel that runs from western Saudi Arabia to Kuwait. Was the Garden of Eden in Mesopotamia? While most archaeologists would dispute the existence of Adam and Eve, a common belief among experts is that the authors of Genesis were inspired by the uniquely fertile properties of the marshes of southern Iraq. While the Garden of Eden story may be a myth, it seems to be inspired by the richness of ancient Mesopotamian culture, making it the leading candidate for the garden's location. The Mesopotamian region was notorious for its wealthy families and idyllic royal gardens filled with a rich array of plants and trees which may have inspired the biblical story. The Tigris and Euphrates corroborate the Mesopotamia theory as the rivers supplied water to an extensive floodplain, known as the Fertile Crescent. The region spanned the modern-day countries of Iraq, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, and, some argue, Egypt. During rainy seasons the rivers would flood the valleys, creating fertile soil in an otherwise dry region. The royal tombs of Ur revealed Mesopotamia's golden splendor. The Fertile Crescent's stable climate and reliable water source allowed ancient peoples to develop agricultural systems, cities, and systems of government at the heart of the two rivers.